All right, welcome to another video. So today's a really special day because it's Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there. And I really wanted to make a video of what it is to be a father and a doctor. Now, before we actually get to the video, let me just say that being a mother and a doctor, that's another level I can't speak to. And if you're looking for that, you might want to go somewhere else for that video. I can't help you there. But it's still hard to be a father and a doctor. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So please stay tuned and let's get to it. I'm Dr. Ford and I'm a neonatologist and a pediatrician. If you're new to this channel, we basically talk about everything babies, from premature babies to 1-year-olds, for healthcare professionals and for parents alike. If this is interesting to you and you want to know more, please subscribe to the channel. That way you can look at all my videos. Alright guys, so today's video is about being a father and having babies and kids. We're going to talk about actually having a baby during your training. We're going to be talking about that feeling like you're the first ever trainee to have a baby and everybody's watching you. We're going to talk about juggling your time with dropping them off, picking them up from daycare, school, homeschooling, sports, aftercare. And then we're going to be talking about letting yourself go as a person, as an individual sometimes, because you focus so much on the doctoring and the fatherhood that sometimes you forget about yourself. And then stick around to the end, because the bonus is going to be about being a father, a doctor, amidst all this craziness with COVID. So please stick around to the end to get all the juicy details. And with that, let's get started. So before we get started, it is Father's Day. I have to give a big hugs and loves to my father, to my father-in-law. Thank you for everything you guys do for me and for all the support. Okay, let's get to the video. So having a baby during training is extremely hard. Again, I can only focus on the father side of things, but I can tell you, being a father and a doctor while you're training, it is challenging. During your training, you're asked a lot. You're constantly in the hospital, out of the hospital, you're going for calls. Sometimes you may be on call 15, 24 hours, sometimes beyond that. You're already tired from being a father. Hopefully you're helping out your spouse in the middle of the night, you're waking up, you're doing the feeding, you feel exhausted. And then you go in for a 24-hour call. So that's extremely challenging. Beyond that, there's a lot of stress involved in your training. Whether you're a resident or a fellow, people are expecting a lot out of you. And you feel that pressure. You've got to be really good. If you are in residency, you want to be really good for the patient, but you're also competing for a fellowship if that's what you'd like to do. Even if you're not competing for a fellowship and you're looking for a job, of course, you've got to be the best that you can be for your patient, but also you're trying to boost up your CV, you may be doing other things. So it really adds a lot of stress, aside from the stress and the fatigue that you already get from actually being at home with your baby. The other thing too about being a parent and being in training is that you feel like there's no time to play. You're constantly focused on being the best doctor you can be. You're reading about your patients. You're learning. There's so much to learn in medicine, and you're trying to just put all that together. You may be studying for the boards. You may be studying for a shelf exam. You may be studying for all kinds of things. And so you feel like there is no time, and you really put the time that you have with your baby and your children to the side, to the last level. I'm going to talk about that in the next part, which is the advice. All right, here's where you're going to get the fatherly advice, and maybe the doctorly too. So here's where I combine the fatherly and the doctorly advice. Let me just say, you will survive your training. I promise, regardless of what happens, you will survive. So you really want to put your family first. First of all, it's a huge de-stressor. You can't but enjoy the time that you have with your kids, feeding your baby, going out on a walk with your spouse. So put your family first. That's going to really help you internally with the stress. It's going to help you take away your mind from being in the hospital because it's there all the time. So you really want to break that, enjoy the time that you have with your family, and then when you go in the hospital, work really hard. But when you leave the hospital behind, read what you have to read for your patients, study for your boards if you have to, but spend quality time with your family. What do you get if you cross a vampire with a snowman? Frostbite. So the second thing is just feeling like everybody's looking at you because you have a baby or you have kids during your training. And that feeling adds a lot of stress. You feel like every time you come in and you say, I'm sorry, my baby chewed on my stethoscope, or I'm sorry, I'm late, but my baby vomited all over the car. You kind of feel like that's an excuse and people are looking at you and saying, oh gosh. And so that, again, it's also just not a great feeling when you're a trainee and you see other folks that are younger than you that don't have kids, and you feel like you might be letting them down. And we'll talk a little bit about this in the advice. Then you also feel like this is never gonna end. Every stage, I have a baby, and oh, well, finally we are crawling. Well, that's challenging. And oh, finally we are walking. That also adds another challenge. So you kind of feel during your training that this is never gonna end, and that's not true. All right. So here's where, again, the fatherly, doctorly advice. Let me tell you, you are not the first trainee to ever have a baby while you are training, okay? And, together as attendings, we actually know that. We've all been there, Most of the attendings have had kids. We understand how much stress and time goes into caring for your child while you're still doing your training. We understand the challenge behind that. And so, you can approach your colleagues, use your support staff, your colleagues, your friends, your family. Then let people know around you, because there's a lot of people that have gone through what you are going through, and they can give you some great advice at how you can help to basically overcome those challenges and be able to do really, really great doctoring and being an amazing parent as well. All right, now we're going to be talking about juggling daycare and sports and aftercare and dropping them off, picking them up, homeschooling, all these things. Now, this is really challenging. When you have either a baby and you have to drop him off, but you have to go at a certain time to the hospital, and the daycare doesn't open until a certain time, or it closes too early, that adds a whole lot of stress. You feel like some of the staff sometimes when you come in, will say, that dad's always late. Or hopefully this never happens, but sometimes it does. And that is, you forgot to pick up the child because, again, you're exhausted. You may be post-call, you may have overslept. And it does happen. And those things are extremely challenging and very scary, of course. Sometimes you're so immersed in the doctoring that people don't even know you exist. You suddenly show up to pick up your baby and the staff says, sir, who are you? That happens sometimes. So we'll talk a little bit in the advice on how we can kind of help you through this. All right, here we go with the advice. And again, just my opinion. But you want to try and set up a schedule. Again, sometimes as parents, we feel like, we got it all right here. Don't worry. Yeah, it's challenging when you've got to do so many things and you got to juggle. If you can do it, that's amazing. That's great. Hey, props to you. I know I couldn't. So you really want to set up a schedule so you know when you have to drop off, when you have to pick up, and also get your significant other to really support you on this so that you have a schedule where you have some time off, you're able to pick them up. You know when you have to pick them up. You can even put an alarm on your phone, a reminder on your phone, something like that. If you don't have another person to support you, then you might want to find a family member, a really close friend, somebody you really trust, of course, or if you have the ability to have a babysitter, then you set up a schedule. Find the support. You don't have to do it all by yourselves. It's so extremely difficult, and if there are people who have done this, please, write in the comments how you did it. I would love to know. Maybe I'll do a video if you have a really good strategy. So please write in the comments if you're that one person that was able to do it all. But for the most part, we're all human, and we've had to figure out a way to try and overcome the challenges while you're being a parent and having a child or a baby while you're training or while you're a doctor. Dad, I'm cold. Oh, that's okay, son. Go to the corner of the room. Why, Dad? I hear it's 90 degrees. Of course, this joke only works in Fahrenheit. Alright, ever find yourself as a dad just reminiscing, maybe finding your little man cave, closing yourself somewhere and just remembering when you were in college and you had the mullet and you went to all the rock and roll concerts and stuff like that? Yeah, we've all been there, and it's true. What happens is basically we kind of lose ourselves sometimes as parents, but again, I'll talk to as a father, you kind of lose yourself a little bit, and you go on basically taking care of your child, taking care of the hospital, taking care of your patients. Obviously, you have to take care of your spouse or your significant other, and then you kind of forget about yourself. And suddenly 5 years go by, you've lost yourself a little bit, maybe you're a little overweight, you forgot, you stopped going to the gym. All these things really do happen, and they happen in a flash. You might not realize it until 5 years have gone by, you look yourself in the mirror and you're a completely different person. So it does happen, and let's talk about the advice of how we can really change that. Okay, here's the advice. So you really want to try and pick something that's for you. It is true. It is extremely challenging to be a doctor, a husband, a dad, and you spend a lot of time on those things, and it's really important. You really want to spend a lot of time on those things, but also find a little moment, a little time, maybe once a week, where you can really find something that you're passionate about, that you really want to do. Whether it's playing guitar, whether it's going out with your buddies, whether it's just going for a run, going to the gym, or just driving around for a little bit. You really want to find something that you really like, you're passionate about, and it's done just by yourself. You don't if you want to go kick a ball with your family, obviously that's really important too, but I'm talking about just find a small time during the week where you do something for you. Very important. It may be actually take a nap, and if you want to do that, that's fine, but something that you're really passionate about. Alright, so I promised I was going to give you the bonus at the end, and this is basically about being a father, being a doctor during these crazy times of COVID. We've all been in that situation. If you have babies and kids where you're at home, you might be having a Zoom meeting, you just fed your baby, they're in the background, you got to take care of them, or maybe your kids are running around in the background while you're trying to have a really important meeting, maybe with your attending, or maybe as a doctor with your partners. That is extremely challenging. So what you really want to do is don't combine work and play. Find some time for you to really be work-oriented, but when it's playtime, it's playtime. You basically, no meetings, no time for you to read papers or articles, journals. You really want to focus that time to spend with your baby, with your family, or with yourself if that's something that you would like to do. What you can also do is really find something that you're really passionate about, and now combine that with your family. Be able to bring in your kids, be able to bring in your significant other if you have one, and if that's something you want to do, you basically put in two things together. I talked previously about being able to find something you're really passionate and find your time, and that's really important still. But because the challenging times right now, we might not have a whole lot of time for ourselves. Find a short time to do that, but also find something you're passionate about to bring your kids in. If you like playing guitar, go ahead and start teaching your kid how to play guitar. Or if you've got a baby and you like running, get those strollers that you can kind of run and safely strap your baby in and run with your baby. The other thing, this is a time now to find something new. Get out of your comfort level. Something you always wanted to do. You wanted to write a book? This may be the time for you to be able to sit down and start writing. This may be the time, if you wanted to learn guitar, for you to sit down, watch some cool YouTube videos where you can learn how to play guitar or download some apps and start that going. And so this is perfect time for you to find something that you've always wanted to do. Just go ahead and do it. You can do it, I promise. All right, thank you again for watching. If you like this video, please go ahead and hit like. You can hit notification button if you want to know as soon as I post something. Please, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. You can look at my other videos as well on my channel, Dr. Ford MD. So thank you. It's been a real pleasure. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Happy Father's Day to all those fathers. And again, those moms that help the fathers out, you guys are amazing. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next video.